Welcome everyone to just a classic song by Billy. I haven't visited Billy in a while, and when I do, I always think of Jeff Gollum, his side guitarist for a number of years, who went on to play jazz and even in Rod Stewart's band, and passed at 59, way too young. But I think this intro is what throws everyone off. And I don't think it's as complicated as some lessons out there make it to be. And I'll talk to why when we get into it. So it's in normal tuning. So I've written this out. My notes will cover guitar 1 and 2 where appropriate. So my link to my notes is always below the video, so you can download those. In the intro, you hear definitely a bent G note, which I think is the 4th string. And then it's palm muted. It's not real heavy palm muted. Those strings ring a little bit, but there is some palm muting going on there. Now the next string you hear individually that's also bent is a C note, so that would be the 3rd string at 5th fret, and he just releases it off to the 2nd fret, the A. All right, so we have this so far. Then we're back to that G pulled down. All right, so we have this so far. We only do that a total of twice if you consider the C bent note. That's once, all right? So together, slowly, 1, 2, 3, 4. It takes a little technique, a little practice, but I think once you get it down, the palm muting just right, you'll have that, okay? So that's the opening intro line. That's really the only time you do that in this song, because the guitars do split apart. I'll show you what the 2nd guitar does later, but we're going to concentrate really on what Billy plays initially. So the 2nd measure, we're going to move to an A chord here, and we're going to pull down on the 6th string slightly at the 3rd fret, and the 3rd string slightly at the 3rd fret. All right, so the first quarter measure will sound like this. It is played more full out. All right, then we're going to hit that 3rd fret of the 6th string again, hit that A once, then the C note on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, back to the A once, and then back to the 3. So we have this so far. It's important to note that in the intro he does start with the G, because the rest of the song, well, most of it, there are some other parts, and I'll point those out, where he starts right on the A. Okay, so in the intro we start with that G pulled down. We'll do this again 2 times through, all right, with the C note as once. Again. Then there's a very quick, it's G power chord, all right? We're not going to let the B ring, so mute that on the 5th string and cover the 1st and 2nd string with your pinky and ring finger. Right to a D, all right? That D chord is counted 7 times as it rings out. And then you're going to go open, 3rd, slight pull on the 5th string, back to open, back to a D. All right, so from the G with a down, up, down, quick, 1, 2, 3, 4. I stop after a 4 count and you'll hear this like. Alright, so what we're going to do is slide into the 8th fret of the 2nd string, hit the 5th fret of the 2nd string, to the 3rd string at 7, back to the 2nd string at 5. Then we go right to 5 on the 3rd string with a bend and kind of a stop, and then hit 5 again unbent. Then we're right back into the next measure, which again doesn't start with the G, we start with the A. And it repeats. The second repeat, the lick's a little bit different. We're going to do this. Alright, so what we're going to do is slide into that 5 just like we did initially. The difference here is we're going to take the 5 on the 3rd string, bend and release, and then come back to 2 and open on the 3rd string. And we start that next measure. Okay, so that's really the first 2 verses. Then we're going to go into a break and we'll go over that next. Alright, for the break, what we're going to do is move to an E, G, some notes. It'll sound like this. So we know the rest. So the way the break starts out with is we're going to pull down on the 6th string, 3rd fret, kind of go to a power chord, E, alright, and then we're going to up pick 4 times on the 1st through 3rd strings, fine. Then to a G, again G power chord. Then you'll hear these notes. Alright, so what we're doing there is we're going to hit the 3rd string at the 5th fret, bend up, and then hit 2. Then we take the 4th string at 5, bend, and then hit 2 on the 3rd string. Okay, and then we come in with a... It's more of a subtle bend, but it's open, 3, subtle bend, and then open again before we hit the power chord. Alright, then 4 upstrokes, and then we do a down, up, down, G to D, hold that, and stop. Everybody wants you. Alright, so that is the break. Now we're into verse 3, which again, we know that. So we go through verse 3, there's another verse 4. They're really the same as the 1st and 2nd verse. Alright, same licks. You just repeat again at the end of each verse, and then we're into our second break. Okay, second break is just like what we went over. Some of the intricacies of the second guitar, what we're going to do is hit the 5th fret of the 4th string, come up to the 7th fret, and strike the open 5th string. We're going to start out basically on the 7th fret. Then once we come back to 7, we're going to hit that 3rd string with that bend and back to 7-5. it's really just kind of shuffle played. So if you up strum and strike that 4th string 5th fret, it really plays into that rhythm, and that's consistent throughout the song. While Billy's doing that, he's just answering it with. Alright, so that's one of the second things he does differently. Alright, during the verse, what we can do there, rather than move up here to our G and D, all right, because we're right here, we can play the 4th root G. So that'll be 4th string on 5th fret, 7th fret 3rd string, and 2nd string at the 8th fret. We talked about the bridge being up here. Alright, the other thing you can do at the end of the bridge, okay, they come in with a D, so we'll just reference a D with the second half of the chord, the 7th fret, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string, and we'll do. And then they come in with an E. Well, you can do the E here. Do a big, what I call a big E. That's the 7th fret, 5th string, 9th fret, 4th, and 3rd string. Everything else open. And then back to our D. And then they just. And while he's doing that, again, the guitars are doing. So those are some of the differences. I've noted them in my notes, but that's what the second guitar is doing. And then we're into a bridge. So we'll go over the bridge next. All right, this bridge, little tricky because there's multiple overdub guitars. So I'm going to show you kind of what both guitars are doing, and I'm going to show you one way you can do it with one guitar. Alright, so the melody is really a D suspended. Alright, so it does that 3 times. So what we're doing is playing that D sus2, so our middle finger is off the 1st string. Then we're going to hit the 5 string while everything is ringing, alright? So we're going to hit the 5th fret, I should say, of the 2nd string. Pick that off and hit 3. And then you want to hit the 1st string at 5. So it'll sound like this with the recording. Alright, the other guitar will be up at 14. It's a D also. We've just moved it up an octave. Alright, 12 frets. This first half measure, again, if you're playing it up at 14, it's going to sound obviously higher, but when they're together they sound again unison and very full. The other guitar is just hitting that D suspended. Alright, so what he's doing there is playing 2 notes on the 5th string down to the 2nd fret, open, to to the 6th string at the 3rd fret. Of course, he'll do that 3 times, okay? So, with that said, those are the 3 guitars that are kind of going on there. So, if you want to play this as one guitar, what you can do is play this first so what we're doing there is combining the 2. All right, because we're combining it, we're too late to hit this C note on the 5th string twice. We'll just hit it once. Okay, so that's just another way of combining them both for one guitar, or just playing along with it. It sounds fantastic. Then he comes back and chugs on an E power chord. All right, this will be 8 times. Then we grab the 6th string at the 2nd fret and pull down to our G. So that's a little bit different, but it really fits the timing of the song. All right, and then we're into, you know, starting without the G. So, that bridge, let's try and play it together slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is the bridge. There is a lick in there. We'll go over that lick. And the second guitar does it a little bit different, so I'll talk about that and how you can play it as one guitar. So at the end of this bridge, there's a prominent lick while they're chugging on the E chord for 8 counts before they hit that F sharp pulled to G. What they're doing is a double or unison bend. We're going to be on the 1st string at 12 and hold that, and the 2nd string at 15. Bend that up. We'll hit it 2 more times as it's ringing out on the 12th string. So we'll do that 3 times. All right. So that's the first lick, or first guitar, I should say. The second guitar, what he does is he'll do that twice, and then he goes up to 16 and 19. All right, so that, and that is the lick. So if you got one guitar, you can just do that and go up to that, or just stay there. It really doesn't matter, because this one's a little bit buried in the mix. You don't hear it as prominently. It just sounds like you're right here at 12 and 15. All right, and then you're back into it. All right. They'll go through that one measure. The second time they come through that, they're going to palm mute it, all right? And it'll be played with another lick underneath. So the palm lick will actually start with the pull down. All right, while that's going on and palm muted, you'll hear another guitar. He's doing an octave. We'll be on the 3rd string at 14 and the 1st string, this A note at 17. They'll play that total of 15 times as he goes through that measure with the palm lick. Okay, so then we're into verse 5, which we know that, okay? And we're going to come out of verse 5, and it's played just like what we have up to this point. There's verse 6, and again, you can mix up those two licks. Verse 5. Alright, verse 6. And then we're into another break. Alright, so this break will stop, and there's a slide down. Alright, that's the only difference. When we do that slide down, we're coming into the outro. Alright, so you'll hear and he'll play through that really as he fades out. Okay, so that is all of the song. There's no lead in it, just again some overdub guitars. I'll probably do a playthrough. I haven't done one of those in a while, so you can actually see this played and all put together. And maybe that'll help too. So, hope you enjoy.